Okay, so hi Daddy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, you?
Good, thank you.
Once again, we are back seated on the convo with Jay, and thank you for coming,
Pleasure.
accepting my invitation again. So today we're going to have a very short but insightful conversation, and I want to pick up from the last conversation we had that had to do with the things that build your core values as an individual. You spoke about broken buttons in that video, relating to the relationships that we come from and how they shape us. So today I want to go ahead and talk to you more about these broken buttons, but with regards to yes, where we are coming from, but not only relationship, the fact that we are coming from different types of brokenness, because everyone is different, and we are trying to build something better, something more efficient and whole out of this brokenness. So I want us to talk shortly about it. What do you say? What is your first response to this?
Well, the last time we spoke about the four things that shape your belief or your core values, which is repetitious information, authority figures, your environment and your experiences. And I said of the four, the most potent is your experiences.
Yeah.
And these things shape you. You made mention, or you said we spoke about broken batons being passed on. That is because of where we come from. Almost everybody experiences some dysfunction because there are relationship challenges, marriages breakdown, etc. So the things that happen to us growing up or happen to our parents, and because we're trained in that environment, it impacts us. We are a result of our environment. And if you don't get help, the same way the broken baton was passed on to you, also pass it on to the next generation. So it has to be identified and addressed.
So the first thing would be identifying where the brokenness is.
Definitely.
And then addressing it.
Definitely.
And how do you think we can do this?
I think that what individuals need to do, you need to look at your life. It's good to have what I call introspective evaluation. You know, looking inside yourself, asking yourself questions. I say to people who are going into relationships that don't go into a relationship until you are fixed. You can't love somebody if you don't love yourself. You'll be able to give what you have.
Yes.
So if you have insecurities, you have trust issues, you know, it's critical that you address them, or else you take them into a relationship. And relationships, or let me put it this way, relationships are fun, relationships are a beautiful thing. But what makes it messy is the kind of people we are. Because whoever you are, you take it into a relationship. And that will then determine the health of the relationship. If you are whole, if you are healthy, you have a healthy relationship. But if you're a mess, you mess up the relationship. As good as it was ordained to be, you mess it up. You grew up in an environment where there was lack and poverty. And life was difficult. It can have an impact on you.
You did talk about them.
What tends to happen is that you don't become a generous person. You know, because you keep everything that you have. You cannot have a relationship or healthy relationship without giving.
Sure.
If you then go on to have children, it's going to impact them.
True.
Because you know, children sometimes waste things. But because you came from a background where there was lack and poverty and everything was overmanaged, when you see your children having to enjoy the things that you provide for them, because of what you have gone through, and you don't want to ever go back there, you take it on to your children.
Yeah, it's true.
That they are wasting stuff.
Yeah.
And they need to look after things. I understand. You need a balance. They don't have to waste things.
Yeah.
They have to manage things well, but you need to be careful that you don't pass on your experience to them.
Yeah.
So, which means that you have to deal with that issue in your life, because if you don't deal with it, it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It gets buried somewhere in your soul. And we are spirits. We live in a body, and we have a soul. And our soul is very complicated. Our soul is made up of our will, our intellect, our emotions, our feelings, our imagination, or our mind, let me put it that way. And a lot goes on there. I don't know whether you remember, during our last episode, I spoke about the three parts of the soul. Your conscious, your subconscious, and your conscience. And we live our lives from our conscience, right? There's a saying that let your conscience be your guide. I have an issue with that problem, because if the information in your conscience is messed up, and your conscience is going to be your guide, you can imagine.
It's a problem.
So what you need to do is to make sure you are whole in that area of your life. If you have insecurity issues, if you have trust issues, you have to get help. But first it has to be identified.
Exactly.
And then you seek help.
Yeah, so I agree. The first thing to do is to accept the fact that I have this problem and it's half solved. Then you find a way. And obviously we are all different individuals, so everyone will have a unique way of solving the problem. Maybe you have to talk to someone, maybe you just have to be receptive and learn. Maybe sometimes it's not really a big deal, there's just some things you have to change and all that. So it is a different journey for everyone. What do you think are some of the ways, like tangible ways, that we can change or we can work towards that wholeness we are talking about?
I think that when we need to be sincere and honest with ourselves, because if you are not, you can't get help. There's a movie in which Denzel Washington was a pilot. You remember that movie? And he was a drug addict and an alcoholic.
Okay.
And he was taken into a rehab. But when you go to a rehab, the first thing they want you to do is to say, I'm Selassie, I'm a drug addict. Or I'm Selassie, I'm an alcoholic.
Yes.
Right?
True.
You don't go and say, oh, I'm Selassie, and then 3 years ago my friends went to a party, and then you have to admit that this thing has got a hold over you or on you. So you identify it, and then you humble yourself to seek help. Because Denzel Washington went to the rehab, he couldn't get help because he didn't admit that he had a problem. So when you admit that you have a problem, that is the first step to getting help. I think that it's important for you to get mentors, or I don't know which adequate word to use, whether a coach. For instance, if you see something in somebody, maybe somebody who is older than us, people you admire, and they live their lives a certain way, and you wish you had that. I mean, you admire the way they live, and you wish you could be not be them per se, but for them to teach you what they know and how they became who they are. You need to humble yourself and speak to them, right? Maybe book an appointment, sit with them, tell them why you admire them, what you see in them, and how they can help you. Because we don't know it all, right? So if you see somebody manage their finances well, if you see somebody is able to trust people, is kind, is generous, ask them for help. You know, so it helps with the wholeness.
Yeah.
But we need to be careful where we get our information from.
True.
Because there are a lot of things out there that are not sound and can mess you up.
Yes.
So
That's true.
we need to be careful what we open up ourselves to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Daddy, with regards to these broken buttons, apart from the whole emotional sector, sometimes, especially in African homes, you see people build from scratch in every generation. My father built from scratch, I'm supposed to build from scratch, and normally we don't pass down anything, nothing is passed down to us as well. We see our parents build from scratch, and it's as if it gets to a point where we also have to do the same thing. How do you think this generational cycle can be broken? How do we build and get to that level where something can be left?
I think it has to be done intentionally. The question is, have we come to the realization that that is what we are supposed to do? Right? Because if your parents built a foundation or left assets for you, it makes life easier for you. You are able to stand on that foundation and go higher.
Yeah.
And then the next generation that comes after you go higher than you.
Yes.
It has to be consciously done. You have other people groups that do that quite well, like Jews.
They do.
You know, where they think about the next generation.
Yeah.
Or generationally minded. And I think there has to be a paradigm shift, especially in our culture,
Yeah.
where people think of legacy. People think of the future.
Yeah.
It's not just about
Today.
yes, them. And they tell you to go and build your own.
Yeah.
This is mine. This
Yeah.
is my house. This is my car. This is my assets. You know, so I have to enjoy them.
Yeah.
So you work hard and build your own.
Yeah.
You know, there are parents that don't even leave anything at all for their children. So their children have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, so it becomes a cycle.
Yeah.
So first we have to realize that there's a problem,
Yes.
which we have to address. And then we have to consciously or intentionally do that.
Okay. So first of all, we have to know that there is a broken button that is supposed to be fixed. And then we have to try to sort ourselves out. Maybe deal with bitterness, because a lot of people are bitter with regards to maybe some things their parents did and all that. And then now we have to be intentional about leaving something behind. So do you have any advice when it comes to how to build, how to start life? It can be spiritually, it can be physically, anything. Is there anything that you can share with us?
You can't start anything worthwhile without a solid foundation. Foundation is critical. When you walk into a building, what people do is the first thing they admire is the decor or the furniture or how nice the house is.
Yeah.
But there's something more important than the outward, which is not seen.
Yeah.
That is the foundation. And if the foundation is not right, it affects the whole structure, be it a business, be it a family, be it a relationship. So foundation is critical. And what you put into the foundation will determine what you are going to build. So it's important that we build and build right. And you cannot cut corners. Because if you cut corners, it's going to affect the building. You might think you have a beautiful building standing, but give it time.
Yeah.
It's going to be tested. The winds will come, the waves will come, the challenges will come. The question is, what you have built, will it be able to withstand
the test of time?
Exactly. So foundation is critical. If you get a foundation right, the rest will be easy.
Yeah. So then we have to be intentional about building ourselves spiritually, and then physically and emotionally. We have to be intentional about tackling all these sectors of our lives and making sure that there's the perfect mixture for the right foundation. And then after the foundation, obviously, with time we have to learn how to manage whatever it is that we have, because some people are able to build all right, but they still aren't able to leave something behind. We don't leave anything anyway. So what do you have to say about that? There's this problem somewhere where people get rich, or rich in the broad sense, maybe in the financially, emotionally, they're able to build something, but they are still not able to pass it down.
So if your issue it has to do with managing things, like I said earlier on, find somebody who's doing it right. Right? I'm a firm believer in learning for life. Don't stop learning.
Yeah.
Do not stop. Do not ever get to the point where you think you know it all. I go to seminars. I go to leadership programs because I don't know it all. I want to get better.
Yeah.
Right? But if you think that you have it all together, you know it all, that's when you have a problem. There are so many seminars out there. Some are free, some you pay for. But pay the price, get the knowledge. Find somebody who's done it right. Learn from them.
Yeah.
Pick their brain. Who are people that are managing what they have built well.
Yeah.
Because it takes knowledge to be able to do that. If you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it. And if somebody's doing it right, learn from them. When it comes to finances, I wouldn't call myself a financial expert.
Yeah.
Right?
Because people are concentrating, like as Christians, to say that the spiritual side is important. I guess to a time when people need because they want to start their lives, and they're starting from nothing. So
I think that this generation, or let me call it black people are consumers. We like to spend. We like to portray a certain image to people, even when we don't have. We don't mind borrowing to have a wedding. We don't mind borrowing to have a party. We don't mind borrowing to do other things. There's good borrowing and bad borrowing. Good borrowing is when you borrow to invest, when you borrow to build, when you borrow to buy something tangible, something that is going to increase in value. But if you borrow money to go and buy clothes, and you wear the clothes, and the one who loaned you the money comes for the money, are you going to sell the clothes to pay the person back?
It's a mess.
No. Right? So we have to learn to save. We don't have to spend everything that we have. People have all sorts of formulas that they use. Some use. Some say that when you get your salary, save 20%. And then spend maybe 80, or some do 40, 60, whatever formula you use. But make sure at the end of the day, you don't spend everything that you have.
Yeah.
And then people talk about what do you call it, a second income. If you work somewhere, what comes in must be your seed.
Yeah.
But you also have to identify your giftings, your talents, abilities, something that you can do on the side, which is your own. I'm a pastor, so the Bible is my guide.
Yeah.
There's a story in the Bible where Peter went fishing, and the Bible says they didn't catch anything. So Jesus came, used the boat, and then told them to cast their nets. So they went, cast their nets. I told them net, actually just cast the net. And then, to cut a long story short, they caught a boat sinking, net breaking harvest of fish.
Yeah.
So much so that they have to call their neighbors to come and help them.
Yeah.
But there's a line in that story that says, and the boat was Peter's. And the boat was Peter's, which means Peter didn't go to borrow the boat. The boat belongs to him. So when he sells the fish, guess where the money is coming to? It's coming to Peter. So you must have something that you call your own, so that if God chooses to bless you, He's going to bless you through that avenue. So you must have something that is yours.
Yes.
That you work at, that brings you profit.
Yeah, never thought of it that way. That's very, very important. I'll be bringing this conversation to an end very soon, because I think you've said a lot of key things that we have to now go and do our own homework. You've said a lot, and we've been able to talk about different subjects or different fields in our lives. So what would you say to close this whole conversation?
Well, what I want to say is that we're on a journey. We haven't arrived yet. And if you are going to make a difference in your generation, it starts with you. It starts with making sure you are sorted out, you are fixed, you are whole. Because if you go and work in an environment, you are going to deal with people.
Yeah.
You are going to what do you call it? Have to deal with issues. People might not everybody's going to get along with you. You know, back in the day, or some years ago, when you went for interview, people look for the IQ.
Yeah.
Now it's EQ.
EQ, emotional.
You know, how you relate to people, how you handle teams, etc. Right? But if you are a mess, you take it you take it with you wherever you go. Right? So starts with you.
Yes.
Get help. And I think that will go a long way to help you.
Yeah.
And if you become better, then whoever you come into contact with, you are going to add value to their lives.
Yeah. I agree with you. So one key thing I've learned is still being intentional. This word intentional cuts across everything, and it's like our lives have to be organized. You can't just live life anyhow. If you want to achieve a particular thing, then you have to plan to achieve that particular thing.
You know, one of the things I tell people when I teach on parenting, I ask the question, should all married couples give birth? I ask that because the world has changed. Your generation is dealing with a cocktail of drugs. Cocktail of all sorts of drugs.
Yeah.
The challenges in society, right? Crime, violence, brokenness. So I tell couples, do you understand the environment in which, or the world in which we are, into which you are bringing children? Are you ready for that? You as parents, have you sorted out your issues, your brokenness? Because you pass it on to them.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not rush to do things. Let's not rush to do things. Let's work on ourselves.
Yeah.
And the more whole we become, the better we make the world, our environment, our community, our society.
Yeah. So wholeness, it's very important. Okay, Daddy, thank you so much for being here. It's been sharp but very, insightful as usual. So thank you so much. I'm sure my viewers or our viewers would love to hear this one as well. There were a lot of comments that came from the other conversation we had.
Fantastic.
A lot of people saying I really, really learned so much from this conversation.
Excellent.
So I'm so glad that I've got this opportunity to sit with you again. So hopefully we'll do this again another time. With that being said, we'll bring it to an end.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, guys. Remember to always be the best version of yourself. Stay true to yourself, and see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.